There you go, that's better. Well, I introduced you to everyone as far as our meeting last November and kind of a little bit about what you've done and with the local community hackathons and things that's of interest to me as an educator. And so I told them we'd cover these points, but I thought first of all you maybe just introduce yourself and kind of where you're at and what you're doing and all that good stuff.
Sure. So my name is Christopher Whitaker. I'm the Code for America Brigade Captain for the City of Chicago. I'm also a civic technology and project management consultant at the Smart Chicago Collaborative. And we kind of work at the intersection of civics and technology. So we run civic hacking events. We run different projects that bring in civic startups to work on civic issues. One example, which I'll demonstrate a little bit later, is we work with a company called Textizen to solicit feedback from residents. Another partner we're working with is an app called Local Data, which allows you to take surveys of communities for, like, to find out where all the abandoned buildings are, all the vacant buildings, and being able to do that with your phone and have it all upload to a central database. Recently, last October, we held the Illinois Open Tech Challenge at Eiger Lab in Rockford, and that went very well. We had some cool apps coming out of that, and we're actually having a follow-up meeting this Saturday at Eiger Lab to kind of finish those apps and to actually roll out Code for America Brigade in Rockford. So I'm happy to be here and happy to talk about civic innovation and some civic apps that might be useful to the Transform Rockford initiative.
Just a technical note, Chris, your video's popping up and down. I don't know if it's on my end or your end. I don't know. Are you using a laptop or are you using your iPad?
It might be me because I talk with my hands, and so if I shake the table,
okay, I got you. That's all right.
I'll try to avoid being quite as mobile. How's that?
There you go. With energy, there we go. We like
Sit
that.
on your hands.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay, so if you want to talk real quick, I guess, about the first note we talked about was Textizen and how that came about and maybe how this could help transform Rockford. Because so far we've been doing community visiting sessions where folks are coming to an area, a building, talking about vision that they have. This next text campaign is supposed to make it more viral, hopefully, to where folks can, who maybe couldn't come to these events, can communicate and get input into vision. So talk about maybe Textizen, where it started and how you can see how it might fit into what we're doing.
Sure. So I'm going to start screen share real quick so you can see the kind of what we're talking about. And that's Twitter, that's not Textizen. Okay. So Textizen started out as a Code for America project in Philadelphia. And it's used by governments and nonprofits to solicit feedback from residents using SMX texting. So you log in, you create a campaign. Textizen will actually help you design your first campaign just to make sure that you're asking questions in a way that will get good responses. Once you activate the campaign, what a lot of cities do is they'll actually print out the questions and put them in places where people are sitting down and quite frankly kind of bored. Restaurants, well, maybe not restaurants, bad example, but bus stops, libraries. I've seen ideas where people have printed them out on pizza boxes, and as they delivered pizza, they delivered a survey. And as people see the signs and respond to the text, on your end, you see the results in real time. For the average campaign, you usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks to run a good campaign and to get a lot of responses. Once you get this initial engagement, you have the opportunity to send follow-up texts with project updates, additional surveys, and if you're holding up another event, send them reminders about those events. So it's a simple tool that does sort of it has a lot of capability. For what we're doing in Chicago, we're using Smart Chicago Collaborative is using Textizen to help out with the City of Chicago's Department of Cultural Affairs. They're having a cultural expo in a couple of weeks, and so we're putting signs up all around the expo to get information on attendees. And then during the keynote events, we're putting signs up so that people can ask questions or give input and feedback on the representative speech. So are there any questions about Textizen, sort of how it works, sort of things we've been able to do with it?
Sure, and I've got a microphone that should pick everybody up. If you can't hear them, I'll repeat the question.
Okay.
Any questions for Chris on Textizen? Doesn't seem to be any questions. Everybody's an expert on Textizen.
So, I guess maybe talk about application for Transform Rockford.
Sure. Yeah.
I guess how would we, we've had some events, like our original launch event was last November at the Coronado Theater. We had about a 2-hour event with a number of topics and speakers and things like that. There was about 1,400 people in attendance. How would, you talk about a campaign over 2 or 3 weeks. I think part of the vision has been, we've been looking for some type of technology that we could leverage during an event like that, either for the attendees that are in the building, or maybe it's, because we also televise that event, so maybe there would be a way during the Q&A to actually get questions via Textizen or some other type of technology for somebody that's just watching it on TV or something and not there presently. Is that the type of applicability for the tool, and are other communities using it that way as well?
So a lot of the things that I've seen is doing polling questions, like giving them options, and then if they text the fourth option, it allows people to send a quick custom message that you're trying to get, like if your idea is not listed. I've also seen during live events, you have the ability to text questions directly to the speaker. I guess my question is, are you looking for a tool to poll people, as in, option A, B, or C, or D, or are you looking for more lengthy paragraph-style responses to questions you have for the community?
Yeah, I was going to say
Probably
yes,
both.
Yes and yes. I could see both. I could see a quick survey kind of thing where, text 1 if it's this, text 2 if it's this, text 3, that kind of thing. But then also to be able, in a live event, to submit questions and things like that.
So let me show you another tool, and that may kind of make this a little easier depending on what y'all are trying to accomplish. Another tool that I've seen get a lot of good use is a tool called Mind Mixer. And Mind Mixer it tries to act like a virtual town hall. So whenever you go to Mind Mixer, you kind of start the conversation. I don't want to do it yet. And then you put questions out online in order to get responses. So here's one put together by the Chicago Park District. Welcome to Improve Chicago Parks. The Chicago Park District is trying to get more people involved and feedback to get input on some of the projects. So they post a number of topics, including polls. So here's one. What do you like most about your favorite park? And then you can sort of see all the ideas and responses to that question. And it gives it gives the Chicago Park District some very specific feedback, and it actually helps start a discussion about that particular topic. And you can sign into this site using, all the normal texting tools. So I can log in with LinkedIn to get this going, and be able to respond based on that, so I don't have to go through this lengthy silent projects. Unless, of course, it does this. That's the ITV. So my mixer may be another tool that may work out as well as Textizen, depending on what specifically we're trying to do. A lot of times with Textizen, they're asking more specific questions. So they'll put an ad by a bus stop and say, you know, what do you like about, what could we do to improve this bus stop? Well, I am checking through that. You know, add more lighting, more benches, more trains, and doing it that way. And Textizen, I mean, they are a civic startup, so they are constantly working to improve the platform and to help provide a better experience. And Michelle Lee, who is one of the founders of Textizen and a Code for America fellow, is real good about working with you to sort of build a campaign that works specifically for your organization. So even though, you know, it is a survey, it is a platform, they're very good about customizing that campaign to match your needs.
Okay, Chris, I did have a couple questions on as far as printing, the billboards or the places around the, say, bus stops, the mall or whatever. If we were to do that, can our local printers, can we use those local printers to do all that and ship that out ourselves?
Oh, absolutely, and I think
Okay.
it actually works better that way.
Okay.
I don't believe Texas actually provides printing services.
Okay, good.
They
That was
do
one of my
provide-
questions.
They do have a designer on staff, but
Okay.
By all means, buy local.
Okay, great. And as far as big question in everybody's mind is cost. And I know when I talked to you a couple weeks ago, you know, we have a lot of resources that we can use internally to help offset costs, like printing, things of that nature. But as far as the service itself, do you have a ballpark or an idea for a 3-week campaign or a 2-month campaign or whatever the case may be?
So, as part of the Civic Works project that I'm doing in Chicago, we purchased a rather large service contract with Textizen at about $9,000. But that dollar amount is not just for one campaign; it's for multiple campaigns, and we have some other add-ons drawn in.
Okay.
Textizen is software as a service,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's a subscription model.
Okay.
So based on what Transform Rockford would need, they would establish a price based on those needs.
Okay.
I won't try to get into specifics on what I think Textizen would charge,
Sure.
since that's on Textizen. But
Gotcha.
if I like using software as a service platforms because sort of you can turn it on when you need it and turn it off when you don't.
Right.
So it's not like you're having to buy the entire software platform all the time it took to build and encode it.
Right.
So what would happen if y'all decided to move forward is Michelle and the team would get together, talk with you to see what y'all would need, and go from there.
Okay. Great. And as far as successes you've had with this or you've seen with this, I know you've been involved with it for a while. In a city our size, which you're familiar with Rockford, you've been here. What's your gut reaction or knee-jerk reaction to Textizen on just sheer community input, volume of community input, and how turning that around, I guess, as far as data aggregation, how well that helps the actual groups? So we want to talk about that for a second.
The thing I like most about my experience with Textizen, and we haven't actually ran our campaign yet, so I don't have any personal experience with the results, just what I've seen in other cities. But part of the thing that I like about Textizen is you're not just sort of buying a platform and then sort of having to run it on your own. The Textizen team will work with you to help design the campaign and make sure that
Okay.
when you're designing the signs and the surveys, that it's actually going to work.
Right.
I have seen other government agencies that have sort of decided to run things on their own and not
Right.
listen to the Textizen staff and it has not gone as well.
Right.
So I definitely would definitely like sort of the experience that we've had working with Textizen to design something that works for us.
Okay.
And like most civic startups, especially those that do subscription as a service, they're pretty affordable in terms of the overall cost for the program, and they've been very good to work with.
Okay. Great. Besides Mind Mixer, other technologies you can think of that would help in our quest to get community input?
So one of the things I always like to point out is it's not always necessarily having to purchase like the latest and greatest fanciest thing. Smart Chicago Collaborative uses a platform called Wufoo quite extensively. Wufoo is essentially a web form. So I have the sort of the Chicago Civic Hacker sets this up, and every time someone fills this out, it sends me an email with the responses, and it all goes into a database that I can access and export into various formats. For instance, this is our civic user testing group, and I use Wufoo to have people fill out this form. We use it for We Connect Chicago's contact form. So whenever someone goes to the We Connect Chicago site and needs to contact us, it sends an email to everybody involved.
Okay.
It's very lightweight. We pay for, initially it's free,
Okay.
but we, at Smart Chicago, we use Wufoo a lot, so we pay a nominal amount per month, and we get we can essentially spin up a survey at any time.
Okay.
You can email surveys out, you can insert them in social media, into your websites, and for survey type questions, it's been really useful and really helpful.
Okay.
So I like Wufoo.
Great.
It's a small, lightweight platform that's easy to set up. Just if you're wanting to get kind of just to do a survey.
Right.
And then that's sort of based on what I think y'all are trying to accomplish. Those have been the sort of the main ones that I would point to.
Okay.
We also use Google Hangouts quite extensively. If you use the Go Live feature, whenever you finish your broadcast, it'll automatically upload to YouTube. We do that for all of our events so that people who weren't able to make the meetings are able to see what went on afterwards.
Okay.
So those are the main tools that I think would be useful to you all at this point.
Okay. The cost of Google Go Live is that what's the cost on that? Is that
For
free?
a week.
Okay.
The way it works is now we've invested in, like, we bought a higher grade camera and a tripod and
Right.
some video editing software.
Sure.
But just for everyday use, it doesn't cost anything. We just set our Google page to do the Hangouts, embed them on our WordPress blog, and off we go.
Okay. Great. Anybody have any questions on that? Google Hangout, Google Live. We're using Google Hangout right now, and I'm using the Mac camera here. He's using, what are you using on your end? Chris?
This is just the Mac camera.
Okay.
I have my fancy HD camera, but
Sure.
it's just me in a box. It's not as important.
Right, right. Okay. So higher quality video cameras would definitely give a better result as far as your Google Hangout goes and Google Live, correct?
So what's the
Correct.
difference
And,
between Hangout and Live?
And I have something on on the Smart Chicago website that sort of describes all the things we use to do
Okay.
the broadcasts.
All right, I had a good question on Google Hangout and Google Live. The difference is on what's the difference between the two? Google Hangout and Google Live?
So Google Hangout, right now, it's just like a video call. So when I close the window, this disappears. With Google Hangouts Go Live, or I think they call it Hangouts on Air now,
Okay.
you can embed that video into your website. So if you have a WordPress blog, you can embed it so people are going to your website versus your Google Plus page.
Okay.
It also broadcasts, and as it's broadcasting, it's uploading it to YouTube.
Okay, great.
So
Okay.
once that event's done, what I've done is I've actually gone and downloaded the video from the events,
Sure.
and then I'll edit it to slice it out in different pieces depending on like how many speakers I have.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, because I'm using a service I've used for a couple of years called Screencast-O-Matic to video everything we're doing. But it sounds like Go Live might be a better way to go with the Google platform, correct? That might be a better way to go as far as the stream live and the automatic upload to YouTube afterwards. Is that correct?
Right. We like Google Hangouts because it's easy to embed in our WordPress blog.
Right.
And I can just share the link on social media and sort of drive traffic to my site.
Okay, great. Any other questions as far as Google Live, Google Hangout, Woofoo, or MindMixer? Those are the other two apps that you talked about, or services.
What's the pricing on MindMixer?
What's the pricing on MindMixer, Chris?
You would need to contact MindMixer directly. It's sort of like Textizen, where so they'll talk to you about your needs and determine a price from there. My understanding is that is a subscription as a service, and compared to some other platforms, it's pretty affordable.
Okay. So it is not free. It is a SAS then. It's a software as a service then.
Right. Woofoo is free for a certain amount, and then if you want like 2,000 different surveys and entries,
Yeah, because it is free for personal use, right? Free for personal use, and then if you want to use it for corporate or business, it costs something for that. Is that correct?
Right. It's a lot of the tools that we use are sort of, there's an initial number of surveys that you can use, and then once you get beyond that, they start charging depending on how much you use. Which I actually like that in a platform because like Smart Chicago uses just a ton of these resources, and myself as Christopher Whitaker doesn't really use that much. It's kind of like Dropbox. So you can use Dropbox for free, but if you want like the super storage capability, then you start charging.
Gotcha.
I have a quick question about Woofoo. Does Woofoo host the forums, or does it plug into pre-existing forums?
Woofoo hosts the forums.
Okay.
So there's a couple ways that you have people access it. You can give people the link, which is what I showed with the Chicago Civic Hacker Survey, and that gets you to a Woofoo URL. And then you can also get a code to embed the survey on your website. Just depends on what you want to do. So we've used both. We've both directed people to just the regular link, and then for surveys that we want to have sort of a lasting effect, such as the contact form on our websites, we'll use a embed code.
Okay. Why would
you
you
get the answers you log into Google?
Okay. Why would you recommend that over just using, since you're using Google obviously, why would you do that as opposed to just using a Google spreadsheet form, which has the same functionality?
We like it does the same thing. Google Spreadsheets, you can embed it in a site. We just prefer the way it looks in Woofoo. And I like the fact that whenever you when someone fills out your survey, it emails not just you, but sort of everybody on the team. Which helps sort of in our operations, because it's not just one person having to make sure that they respond. Sort of there's multiple people to pick up the ball.
Right. And so the layout, if I'm understanding the design layout for Woofoo, you like better also than Google form layout, correct? Okay.
Perfect.
Good question. Any other questions
There's
on
just
that?
some additional.
You had one more question up here, Chris. She had a question over here.
Yeah, Chris, just a question with using different front ends to accomplish different purposes. Do you have a back end? Are you using any sort of back end contact database that's tying together input from all of these different feeds?
Do you mean like a backend that we're using to pull like all of our information from Textizen and Wufoo, or do you mean just for the Wufoo?
For all of them, really. I'm assuming we may end up using multiple tools as well, and one of the questions from one of the other teams has to do with not reinventing the wheel on contact databases.
So for Textizen, we're working with the Department of Cultural Services at the city, and so whenever people fill out the survey, that information is mainly going to the Department of Cultural Affairs, not necessarily Smart Chicago. But that's the other good thing we like about Wufoo. So anytime you fill out a Wufoo form, it goes into one sort of our Wufoo account. But Wufoo also has several APIs, which APIs are a way that computers talk to each other. So whenever we built certain projects, we used Wufoo as a backend.
Okay.
A good example is we worked with with an organization called Risk Chicago. Risk Chicago is doing some organizing around the Affordable Health Care Act. They're actually going out into neighborhoods, talking to people, getting their information in order to help them sign up for Obamacare. Whenever they contact someone, they actually enter, they actually use a smartphone or a tablet device and fill out the Wufoo form. We built something very sort of lightweight that takes the information from Wufoo and then plugs that into another platform called Twilio, which is a program that it's essentially like a cell phone for your computer.
Mm-hmm.
And so we take the information from Wufoo and we send out text reminders based on the information that we received in the Wufoo form. So while we really don't have like a great big giant database of all the people we're contacting, we found that using Wufoo as a backend also works for us.
Okay.
Would I recommend it for like everybody? Not necessarily, but the kind of contact and outreach that we do, it integrates with MailChimp, which is an email messaging platform that we use. And because it can hook into different platforms, we've essentially used Wufoo for the backend on a lot of our stuff.
Okay, great question. Any other questions for Chris? Okay, you want to go ahead and talk about, I guess, next steps for Textizen, and we'll just focus on next step for Textizen, I guess. We've already talked a lot about the other technologies, so what in your mind the next steps would be for us?
So what I can do, and I may have already, I think I sent an email
You did.
earlier, introducing you to Michelle Lee of Textizen.
Right.
Michelle's the founder and who we worked with a lot during our dealing with Textizen. Great person, Code for America fellow, and then that would be between y'all and Textizen. I would just
Sure.
sort of make the introduction and
Right.
whatever works.
Okay.
But I definitely, if y'all are interested in more civic innovation type stuff and learning more about sort of this world, I would definitely come to the event we're having at Ivy Lab on Saturday to sort of learn more about sort of the world of civic innovation and Code for America in general.
What's the time frame on that this Saturday?
9 a.m. to 4.
9 to 4, and it's going to be at the Iger Lab, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I pointed to the meetup group, but meetup is currently.
I saw that. Yeah, Meetup's down.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Meetup was hacked over the weekend or something, I guess, or an overflow of some type. And so, yeah, because I was going to sign up for Meetup this morning for a ethical hacking group I meet with once a month. And I went to their website and it said, service down right now. And so, but I've heard good things about it. Yeah.
Yeah, we love meetup.
Yeah,
We
I've heard
meetup,
good things about it.
all the time.
Yeah. Any other questions from anybody? All right. Well, hey, Chris, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. And I will follow up with you after the session with any other questions folks might have. And then I'll contact Michelle Lee from Textizen, and we'll see what we do next. So,
Perfect.
all right. Appreciate
And
it.
If anybody else has any questions that come up.
Any other
just,
questions?
Feel free to share my Twitter handle and my email.
Yes.
And feel free to ping me.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye, Chris.
Thank you.